Thank you so much for coming. Morgan, will you go ahead and start us off with the prayer and pledge?
Definitely. So in honor of Black History Month starting tomorrow, I picked a prayer from Howard Thurman from Meditations of the Heart. So I'll give you guys just a second to center yourselves in any way you see fit, and then we'll begin praying. Lord, Lord, open unto me. Open unto me light from my darkness. Open unto me courage from my fear. Open unto me hope for my despair. Open unto me peace for my turmoil. Open unto me joy for my sorrow. Open unto me strength for my weakness. Open unto me wisdom for my confusion. Open unto me forgiveness for my sins. Open unto me tenderness for my toughness. Open unto me love for my hates. Open unto me thyself for myself. Lord, Lord, open unto me. Amen. And then I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you so much, Morgan. Okay, so tonight we have Miss Harmon here from the Counseling Center as our speaker. So if you all could give her the respect and attention she deserves, I would greatly appreciate it. And Miss Harmon, go ahead and get ready to present whenever you're ready.
I am set. So, well, thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it. This is, let's see, I'm starting my 4th month here. And so I'm glad to be able to meet everybody and talk a little bit about the Counseling Center. I don't know exactly how much time I have. Can somebody tell me how much time there is?
Typically, our presenters go for about 20 minutes plus questions.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I wanted to make sure there's time for questions. Okay, so coming into the Counseling Center, I wanted to spend my first couple of months making sure to meet everybody and to talk about what's going on campus. A little background about me. I've been in the field for about 20 years and in higher education for 8. For anybody here from Pittsburgh, I was at Robert Morris University outside of Pittsburgh for 8 years. And then now I'm here. So one of the things that we realized, and I think every university across the country is realizing, that the demand for mental health support in higher education is just going up and up and up. And I'm going to share with you some slides that I shared with the Board of Trustees last week, just to talk a little bit about what we're seeing and what we're concerned about. Am I able to share my screen?
You should be able to, yes.
Okay. I am going to be annoying and keep it in the slide view only because that way I can still see everybody. So if you have trouble seeing it, let me know. Okay, how's that? Can you see my slides? Okay, so I'm gonna go rather quickly through this one because I think you probably have seen, this is the data from the Healthy Mind study. And if I'm turning my head, I'm looking to my other screen. This is the data from the Healthy Mind study. I'm going to assume that that's been presented to everybody. Okay, unless you have questions about it, but so this is from your campus. This is campus specific data. However, in looking through most of the responses, it's really hitting national norms in terms of what students are experiencing and some of the challenges that students face. For me, percentages don't always tell the story, so I like to have the exact number underneath. And I think a little over 2,000 students have responded to this particular survey. So when I got here, I looked a little bit at the Counseling Center and what kind of trends and what kind of usage hits the Counseling Center. So this goes back to 2013 and looks at how many students, and this is how many unique students walked in the door. So one student may come 4, 5, 6, 7 times, but this is how many unique students have come. And as you can see, every year it's increasing. Again, we are exactly the same as the national average. Counseling center directors all over the country are trying to make sense of what this data means and how best to meet students' needs. So right before the numbers went down a little bit with COVID, I think everybody last spring was just sort of scrambling to figure out what was going on. And then at the end of last semester, we had hit about 500 students coming through our door. So there's no reason to think that the numbers aren't going to continue to go up. And I always get people say, oh, I can't wait till things go back to normal. Well, if you look at the last full year we had before COVID, normal was still pretty high demand. 18-19 was still hopping, and we still had a high level of demand on our services and a high level of need among our students. The other thing that we're looking at is the impact of COVID. And obviously data about the mental health impacts of COVID is pretty early in the works at this point, coming from a couple different spaces. But in terms of large national data, there's only really one study that Healthy Minds did on about 20,000 students across the country. And that data really found things that I don't think is going to surprise anybody on this meeting, right? So levels of anxiety and depression have gone up. Levels of loneliness have gone up. Students are talking about trauma, whether that's trauma due to some of the racial unrest in the country or trauma from family issues, being at home with their families, but they're also talking about a significant increase in family stress. So that can be anything to from a parent or loved one losing their job and financial stress on the family to losing a loved one to illness or COVID during these times. So what we know is that, and this is not going to shock anybody, is that COVID hasn't really made anything better for sure. And has really kind of tapped into some of these long-standing concerns and essentially turned the volume up on it. But in mental health treatment, what we know very clearly is the importance of connection. And that connection is really key to recovering from anxiety, depression, any number of issues are those social connections. COVID has taken that away and has made us all interact through Zoom like we're doing tonight. When we can interact and some of the normal rituals and things. So those of you that are, freshmen this year would have probably not had your high school graduation rituals. You wouldn't have had some of those ceremonies and things. Students at UD, if you talk to freshmen and sophomore, their perception and the conceptualization of what UD is very different than a junior and senior. So you're attending the same school, having roughly the same type of classes, but your understanding of what the school is and how it operates is very, very different because of the impact of COVID. So I'm going to skip through a little bit. One of the things that we really needed to think about was how to serve the highest number of students. Realistically, we were at the point where students were having to wait a while to get in. Once you had an appointment, you may have had to wait a while for the next one. And none of us at the counseling center really wanted that to be the case. We wanted to provide the best possible care. So we took a step back and thought about what we can reasonably offer and what would maximize our ability to see as many students as possible. So I apologize for this graphic. My graphic skills are terrible. I did the best I could with this one. I'm hoping that we'll get it updated and prettied up a little bit. It's a little elementary, but what I really wanted to think about was the counseling center operating under many different pieces. We have many different degree of services that we can offer. So I think a lot of people traditionally think of the counseling center as going for individual sessions. Some people will. But really what the research is showing us, and especially since COVID, is that social connection is key to people recovering. And so we thought about groups and how we can maximize groups and how we can use those groups to both deal with the issue at hand, but also help students connect to one another. So really quickly going around the wheel. First, that centerpiece is the initial consultation. That's what we're going to offer students that their first walk through the door is tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world, and we're going to see what the best match is for you from our services. So we're not going to jump into treatment. We're just going to take a minute, take a pause, take a breath, and listen to what's happening and see what fits best. And the red is what we call urgent or emergent, and these are crises appointments. If you've ever had a crisis, you know that there are two different ways to kind of get to us. One is on call, that you can call and get to a therapist on call through the police. And the second is during the day, during business hours, giving us a call so we can get you in that day to be seen by a counselor. Those aren't changing. Nothing's changing with that. And so if you've had those services before, they're going to pretty much look the same going forward. So the next one I'm going to go to is the pink, ongoing skills and process groups. These are groups that the Counseling Center has offered before and will continue to offer. These are things that we've seen through generations of students that need this kind of support. So they'll be kind of the cornerstone of what we do. The light green, so for some students, individual therapy will still be what the best fit is for them. Our spaces are limited. Our ability to see maybe all the students that want them is limited. But we will still have those services, but we're also going to really work to see if groups can be a good fit too. We also have the rapid access supports. So those are the things that you can do either on your own or get to see somebody very quickly. So on the website, we have the emotional wellness screener. We have sessions called Let's Talk. I'm not sure if anybody's come and talked to you guys about that before, but those are sort of informal meet and greets with a therapist that if you're having a particular problem, stress around a specific test or a specific issue, something like that, then you can come and you can see a therapist within the same week for not really a therapy session, but just kind of a touch base. If in that conversation you think maybe therapy is needed or something else is needed, then we'll refer you for initial consultation. You at Dayton, I think Melissa said that she had come and talked with you guys about this last week. I think it's going to be a great resource, and probably what I like most about this resource is that it's a curated set of information. One of the things that I think we're all very, very aware of right now is the amount of misinformation online about things. And it's been really concerning about everything from politics, but also medical and mental health. The information is very hard to evaluate. It's very hard to know who's speaking accurately and who isn't. So part of what you in Dayton is going to offer is a space to have curated information. So information that's been evaluated for its accuracy. So if you go in and you need to have information about depression, anxiety, a panic attack, you're going to be able to go into You at Dayton and look up information that we know is accurate and that you can trust. You can still research other places, but You at Dayton kind of will put this all together for you. Co-pilots, I don't know if anybody's talked to you guys about co-pilots, but the Brooks Center has a fantastic program they're rolling out. That's a peer support based program. And those students have gone through all kinds of training, including mental health training. You'll be able to sign up on the Brooks Center Talk To. We're working with MEC to have some support groups and some pop-up groups, and also the Dean of Students Office, which their case management services are always available. So we think of those as our rapid access supports. We're adding in something called monthly check-ins or maintenance group in the yellow. And what that is a lot of times students will have our services and they'll feel better, but not really want to stop or lose that contact with the counseling center. So we thought a lot about ways to keep that connection without having an intense level of services. And what we're going to do is have a maintenance group where students can kind of check in after they're finished treatment and just stay connected to us. So if they have a rough time or something difficult comes up, you're still in our system, you're still connected, you're still talking to somebody, and we can accelerate getting you what you need. I'm going to go over to the green, the responsive groups. Those groups might change each semester, they might stay. And what I mean by that is they're really groups in response to what students are telling us are the biggest needs. So sometimes it fits into an ongoing skills group, but sometimes things like grief group, like a COVID support group, 2 semesters ago, maybe we wouldn't have needed, but now students are telling us that that's what they need. So there will be short-term in theory, but may end up sticking around longer. So if you see a group on our website one semester and you don't the next, it probably was a responsive group that maybe the need has gone down or the need has changed. And finally, in the turquoise is something called facilitated referrals. And that is, there are certainly things in the counseling center that we can't treat. We are generalists. And what that means is we're trained to do a lot of different things, but there are certain illnesses and problems that need specialty care. And so for those, we are going to work with the student to give you a facilitated referral. What I mean by that is, it's not just a, hey, call your insurance and go find somebody somewhere in the community. It's a, let's talk about what you need. We have a list of people for some of the common needs that we have spoken with. We know what insurances they take, and we're going to help you along that process to go to the person who specializes in whatever you might need. So going forward, we're really kind of operating under that rubric, and we're thinking about how we can maximize our time and our efforts to do as much as we can for what students need. However, COVID is a curveball, to say the least. I'm going to switch it back. And by saying that, what I mean is that we still don't know what's going to happen with COVID. We still don't know what some of the outcomes are going to be, what to expect. Maybe depression and anxiety are going to be replaced by something else. I don't know yet. So in giving this model, I also want to reserve the right to say, we may have to change things up a little bit depending on what students are telling us. We may need to switch things around because what we're finding is this doesn't meet that need, or there's a bigger need somewhere else. So that's kind of what's in the pipeline. And as I go to different meetings and talk with different students, I'm learning more and more about these needs and trying to adjust what we can. We're expanding our internship program to next year. We'll bring in 2 more interns to help us these students. And along with the interns that were the number of interns that we have now. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of things that are happening right now to try to both read what students need and to meet those needs as best we can. So with that, I will open it to questions, comments, concerns. I am eager to hear everybody's thoughts.
Thank you for coming tonight, Ms. Harmon. You said something that stuck with me about how the problem with the freshman class is the connection, and that we're not able to connect and understand where people are unhappy and where we are happy. So I was able to meet yesterday actually with the other 2 first class representatives, and we talked about possibly sending out a poll online for our freshman class to fill out. I wanted your honest opinion on where you think the best way to communicate with the freshman class would be. I mean, I know the other senators might have their own experience and personal opinion, but it's just hard because we came in this first year with COVID, and we can't do a lot of in-person communication to understand where the problems are. So I would like, honestly, any opinion on whether a poll would be good and what app to use for a poll, because I just want to get feedback from my class. So then we can start working with you and doing other things like that.
So I'm gonna in some ways kind of punt that to Amy Lopez Matthews. She's been here longer and knows a little bit more, but I think, we're all struggling in Zoom to figure out, how do I know? How do we reach one another? I think everybody's inbox is probably crowded with emails that you're trying to organize of what's most urgent, what's less urgent, and what you're going to deal with in 3 months kind of thing. So email has been less effective than it has been. I think, I don't know, Amy, does the university have a Question Pro account or some sort of survey software?
We do, and also, within Google, the ability to send out surveys. So Natalie has the ability to send it, and Chris can work with us to separate that out by class. But frankly, a set of Google questions that a couple of us could review is great, because then you can automatically make the tables and charts with it and create visuals that really help you see how people answered it. Plus you can get, in addition to numbers, you can get people to write in short answers. So I think that's a great idea to find out what the issues are with the first year class.
What other questions or feedback or anything else?
Director Harmon, I just want to say thanks again and reiterate you coming this evening. I know you have only been here for 4 months, and I actually remember when we were interviewing you as I was in one of your interviews.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to say thanks for all the hard work and different things that you have and your office have been working on, particularly in highlighting the student-run the peer group, the co-pilot thing that you were talking about. I think that's really important when we are trying to destigmatize what mental health is and getting help and making, students our age, more okay with reaching out and going to the counseling center. And I think having a peer run kind of outreach and intervention team like your office is implementing is something really important when we are continually trying to destigmatize what is around mental health in general. So I just want to say thanks for your work, and I look forward to more things coming from your office.
Oh, thank you. Any other suggestions or things, from what you're seeing? Again, COVID is I mean, you've heard this a million times. It's new territory. So I would be lying if I said to some degree we're not all making it up as we go. Anything that from what we've been talking about that you think of, here's an issue to pay attention to. Here's something that I'm seeing a lot of.
Honestly, for my brother, he lives in a landlord house that's off campus. And I know recently he's been talking to me about how he wants to get more involved on school and how hard it's been just for him to be disconnected from the school in general. So I just wanted to mention that because even someone closest to me sometimes has anxiety over being away from campus. I don't know. I'm not sure how the numbers correspond with people in dorm rooms versus not. I'm assuming people that are away from campus probably have gone to the counseling office more, but I'm not sure how you guys deal with people that are off campus, but.
Well, I think that brings up some good questions to ask, because I know one of the things I remember from my interview is UD is so highly residential and values so much all the things that HRL does to keep everybody connected. And I just thought, I wonder what we can do to reach those students off campus and also make sure they're aware of services. I mean, if you're an undergraduate student, you're eligible for our services. It doesn't matter if you live on campus, off campus, that's irrelevant. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna have to think about that and how I can reach those students. Other questions, thoughts? I think, and again, this is me being new at UD, but I'm assuming that everybody can find my email in the UD directory. So please, if you have thoughts, if you have ideas, and I genuinely mean this, drop me an email. Let me know if there's a specific group topic that you think would be really helpful for students. I really rely on the feedback that I get from the different student groups that I talk to in order to change and make services, I think, more appropriate to everyone. So please don't hesitate to email me or reach out. I would very much appreciate anything that anybody would want to share.
All right, if nobody has any other questions or suggestions for Ms. Harmon, then I think that we're all set. Ms. Harmon, thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday evening to be here with us tonight. We all really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite, and I hope to at some point be seeing everybody on campus again and seeing people walking around and being able to say hi. Take care, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a good one. All right, Michael, did we have any presentations for tonight?
We don't.
Okay, thank you. Grant, will you go ahead and do attendance then?
Absolutely. James Brill.
Here.
Jada Brown. Jada. She's here. I'm fairly certain she's here. Jules Carchelman.
Present.
Natalie Coppolino.
Here.
Morgan Cox.
Here.
Lillian Dickman.
Here.
Michael Fields.
Here.
Sophia Garcia.
Here.
Jessica Garvin.
I'm here.
Mason Gordon.
Here.
Daniel Hennessy.
Present.
Courtney Henthorn.
Here.
Hannah Hobie.
Here.
Jake Jagels.
In attendance.
Bridget Mooney.
Here.
Drew Moyer.
And attendance.
Ryan Pearson.
Here.
Annie Philbin.
Here.
Grace Perucci.
Here.
Tommy Reese.
Here.
Luis Rogel.
I'm here.
Jack Santee,
Here.
Kelly Stewart. Kelly. Ben Thomas.
Here.
Jacob Troutwine.
Here.
And Rachel Benjamin.
Here.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks, Grant. Do we have any public announcements tonight? All right, seeing none, do we have any public comments and concerns tonight? I know I just dropped the link in the chat.
I will hop in for just a second. So thank you to those who voted for the poll on what day to reserve the ice rink. So I did go ahead and reach out to Campus Rec, as I do know the reservations are filling up quickly. So right now we are slotted to be there Saturday, February 27th. I will make sure that we're in talks, so we have it like slotted to stay there at the moment. We need a minimum of, I believe, 20 of us as SGA members, 20 or 25 of us to be there, to be able to use it. So I would appreciate it. Everybody comes if they can, and we can get the word out to the other committee members as well. But that is in the slot for getting that confirmed, and I'll let you know when there is a confirmation to that.
All right, thanks, Drew. Do we have any other public comments and concerns? Okay, seeing none, do we have any SGA members who would like to give a report? Just go ahead and unmute yourself.
I do. Hi, guys. I'm Tyler Clogg. For those that don't know me, I'm the elections chair, and I'm starting to plan for spring elections. And I just have some questions for you guys. There's also legislation on the floor tonight passing the timeline for spring elections. So I'll speak more to that later. But kind of moving forward, I'm trying to make decisions on how we're going to virtually run elections this upcoming semester. So last spring, there were issues with people's individual social media account and them not being able to post and such. And so I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm just going to use the SGA social media to post everything, or if I'm going to allow different candidates to have their own personal account. So if anyone has any input on that, I'm all ears. And another thing that I'm going to be working on is speaking with housing to try and resolve the issue of if you're in housing, you can't be elected for higher positions in the organization, just because I don't want people to not be able to take part in both organizations and hold leadership roles in both, when they could be a really good asset to both organizations. So that's something I'm going to be working towards. So those of you who are part of RHA as well and would like to kind of talk with me about that, I would love to hear it. So if anyone has anything that they want to talk to me about, please reach out to me. And we're just gonna have a lot coming up with elections. So you'll probably be seeing a lot of me in the next couple of weeks on Senate floor.
All right, thanks, Tyler. Does any other SGA member have a report that they'd like to give?
I just got a quick report. Just a reminder that the Campus Unity event of Systemic Racism in Dayton with the focus on housing and food is going to be this Wednesday at 6:30 to 7:30. I'll make sure to send the Zoom link in the Slack chat. And yeah, so definitely if you're free, try to be there. And if not, I think I'm also going to try to record it just to like put it up. Maybe we could put on the SGA YouTube channel, something like that. I think it'll be cool to have. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. Jagels?
Just one quick one from Issues and Bylaws. We had a meeting last week with Director of Campus Unity to work on making sure that certain organizations have guaranteed representation on his committee and some other bylaws changes around that. So that's part of our moving forward with the anti-racist action steps. And that should be coming to the floor this next week. So that's everything. Thanks.
Thanks, Jagels. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I will just go ahead and jump into my report. It's pretty brief tonight. But I dropped a message in the Slack earlier this week about the SGA retreat. So we couldn't really find a big chunk of time that would be great for everyone without, taking a giant chunk of our Saturdays. So what we decided to do was do from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on this coming Sunday, the 7th, and then the following Sunday, the 14th, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. again. So we decided to just split it up into 2 1-hour increments. And I will just, we'll be sending a Zoom link out for that this week as well as reminders for it. At the retreat, I reached out to a diverse speaker educator to come and talk to us. I'm just waiting for them to let me know which 1-hour slot is best for them. And then whichever Sunday we don't listen to the DPE presentation, we will have an advocacy PowerPoint, a legislation PowerPoint, and then also a presentation on event planning as well. Next, Annie and I have a COVID enforcement meeting coming up this week. So if any of you have any questions or concerns that you would like us to address with administration in regard to COVID-19 protocols on campus, feel free to message us or email us or text us, and we can definitely pass those along. And then finally, we did have an SGA anti-racism internal working group meeting this week, our first of the semester. And bare bones, we just kind of discussed what we wanted to accomplish this semester. So as Jagels kind of said, we're just kind of getting the ball rolling with that. He started to look at the bylaws for that with Mason and with Louise. So there will be more updates to come in the future. But other than that, I don't have anything else. Jagels, will you go ahead and kick us off with Senate floor?
Of course, Madam President. The time is 6:32 p.m. I hereby call Senate floor to order. Will the secretary please call the roll of voting members?
Yes, James Breaux.
Here.
Jada Brown.
Here.
Jules Carr-Chelman.
Here.
Morgan Cox.
Here.
Sophia Garcia.
Here.
Jessica Garvin.
Present.
Daniel Hennessy.
Present.
Hannah Hobie.
Here.
Drew Moyer.
Alive and breathing.
Ryan Pearson.
Here.
Grace Perucci.
Here.
Tommy Reese.
Here.
Luis Rogel.
I'm here.
Jack Santee.
Here.
Kelly Stewart. Kelly Stewart. Ben Thomas.
Here.
Jacob Troutwine.
Here.
Rachel Veneman.
Here.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Secretary, how many voting?
17.
17. Thank you. So, do we have any points or motions at this time?
I move to bring Senate Bill 2021-15 to the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second on bringing Senate Bill 2021-15 to the floor? Seeing and hearing seconds from multiple members, we will go into this. I will share my screen. One moment here. And that is for Elections Chair Clogg.
Like I said in my report, this is just an outline of the elections timeline. So there's going to be a virtual information session video like I did for the fall election. So that'll be released on March 8th and it will close March 14th. The forms are going to have a hard deadline due March 14th, just so we can make sure that we have all of our information straight. And then, sorry, can you scroll down again? all forms will be approved by March 17th. So Chris and I will go through those and make sure that all the information that we need is there and everyone has all the correct things they need to be eligible to run. Campaigning will begin March 18th at 8 a.m. with the presidential forum being that following week. And then the elections will be March 24th through 26th, which is a Friday. That's supposed to be March 26th and it says April 26th. Can you change that? Sorry. So after that, that Friday, students that run should know whether they were elected or not. And so I yield my time.
Thank you, Elections Chair Clog. Do we have any further points or motions at this time?
I move for previous question, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Director Pearson, we will move into voting procedure, or actually, all in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. Seeing a majority in favor, we will move into voting procedure for Senate Bill 2021-15. Please go to your participants tab, click the green check for yes, the red X for no, and the go slower to abstain.
Point of information, I don't see the options for voting on my tab.
Thank you, Director Cox. Director Moyer, go ahead.
It is moved under reactions. I had the same issue last week at Academic Senate. And also, a point of information to everyone, they disappear fairly quickly. So you might have to hit yes and no a couple of times to make sure it stays on the screen so that they can get an accurate count of the vote.
Currently, we're just at 6 votes, so. Seeing as though this is not really working, is we're still at 6 votes unless we have 11 abstentions. We will do this by raising of hands. Will all those in favor of this bill, please raise your hand at this time. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Thank you. By a unanimous vote of 17 to 0, Senate Bill 2021-15 has passed. Any further points or motions at this time? The speaker will look favorably upon someone bringing Senate Resolution 2021-15 to the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I move to bring Senate Resolution 2021-15 to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Hobie, all those in favor of bringing Senate Resolution 2021-15 to the floor, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? Seeing a majority in favor, we will go to Senate Resolution 2021-15. I will share my screen and Senator Brown, you have the floor.
Hello, sorry, I'm in my car because I just got off work. Okay, so I wrote just kind of like a heads up for the rest. So I wrote 4 resolutions for tonight's Senate meeting. A lot of them, most of them revolve around Black History Month. Since Black History Month does start tomorrow, kind of seeking to pass some resolutions on issues affecting primarily the African American community and Black students on campus. So that's where a lot of my ideas came from. So this bill, I kind of brought this up last week, how as an organization, we didn't really say anything about like the riots that happened on the Capitol. On our Instagram page, we did post SPINA's or the university's comments condemning the attacks on the Capitol. So I kind of thought that it was important that as an organization, we kind of back up our school and kind of let students know where we are at on this issue and on what happened. So I just thought that was important to bring to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Do we have any points or motions at this time?
I have a point of information. So I completely agree with the overall message of condemning the riot at the Capitol. I was wondering what the correlation between the second thing for your resolutions has. How does that correlate?
You said which one? I'm sorry.
The second, the recognizing the election results.
Because the reason why the riots happened on the Capitol was because of the election results. And so I thought it was important for us to, as an organization, to kind of realize that as a democracy, you know, we have a right to a fair and and trustworthy election. So if we have people on the Capitol who are trying to kind of overrun that, I feel that as an organization, we would kind of condemn that kind of action. So that's why I put that there, to say that we do accept the results of the presidential election, as that did why the riots did happen.
I was wondering if the wording could be changed then, so that's like clear. I guess that it's just like accepting the transition of power.
Do you have any specific proposals for wordage on that?
Just instead of recognizing the election results to be correct and trustworthy, maybe recognizing the transition of power. Like, I'm sorry, I have to think about that.
Is that a favorable amendment, Senator Brown, or
What
unfavorable?
exactly are you trying to like what's like the full sentence?
Sorry, I'm better at writing things out.
Yeah, Senator, if you could go ahead and type that up, your proposed change on there.
Just under it.
Seeing an amendment for new language, Senator Brown, is this favorable or unfavorable amendment?
It's unfavorable because I feel like those are two completely separate points. Not that I disagree with that, but I just feel like it's different than what I was trying to say.
Hearing that it is unfavorable, we will go into voting procedure on this. Will all those in favor of this change, please raise your hands at this time.
Point of information, we are voting on striking recognizing the presidential election results to be correct and trustworthy, and instead inserting recognizing the need for a peaceful transition of power. Is that
yes, this is a subsidiary motion, which is going for an amendment. So it's changing the wordage, and since it's a hostile amendment, the Senate will vote. Seeing the
point of information again, Grace, do you mind if, would it be favorable to your point if I add presidential power instead of just of power to specify it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that resolve your issue, Senator Brown?
No, I still feel like it's two separate points, so it's still unfavorable.
Okay. Seeing his hand raising is not ideal with many people having their cameras off. If
Point of information. Could
Go ahead,
we,
Director Pearson.
could we add the proposed line instead of replacing?
That would be favorable.
Senator Perucci, are you acceptable with changing your motion to adding it rather than striking it?
No, I didn't love the wording for it because I feel like it's okay for people to still have questions about a validity of an election, just because I think as long as you do it peacefully, challenging authority is a way of keeping them like accountable in the future. So I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Perucci. We are attempting to do a new voting system right now from Chris. Everything should just popped up. If you would like to amend, vote yes, no, or abstain.
Can you clarify what the amendment is?
Exactly. Thank
Okay.
you. Got to everyone also, not just voting members.
Yes, please only voting members vote. But the amendment is to strike point 2, which is currently recognizing the presidential election results to be correct and trustworthy, and replacing it with recognizing the need for a peaceful transition of power. We have 9 people who have voted so far. All voting members appear to have voted. This amendment is passed. So this will be the change. Line 2 is striked and replaced with the amended language. Any further points or motions?
I have a point of information that is probably constituting a motion to amend. I noticed that there's not really anything in this talking about, I mean, there's a lot of sort of criticism in a way of the way that the Capitol Police handled the situation, but there's not really recognition of the fact that Capitol Police also did suffer and honestly were hurt very significantly by this event. I would have a motion to add in a whereas clause. I have it written if you just want me to write it on there. Yield my time.
Senator Trautwein, if you'd like to make a motion to amend, you can go ahead and add that on the document. I will screen share, and then we can continue moving forward. This is, here we go. There you go.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker, we are not looking at the bill, or at least I am not looking at the bill.
Some pretty cool mythological objects.
It changed things. Okay, I'm looking.
Yeah, it is. I am.
Yeah, it's class. All right, that should be closed now. Totally. Gosh. Let me share this one here. Is it? Are you able to see?
Mr. Speaker, I would recommend you stop sharing. Oh, there you go. Never mind, it's fixed.
This is technology is challenging. Apologies to the Senate. Is everyone able to see it now?
Point of information, yes, Mr. Speaker. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Moyer.
Yeah, that's the whole amendment I would like to make.
Thank you, Senator Trotwine. Is this amendment favorable, Senator Brown?
Sorry, I'm reading it.
Point of information, I just fixed the beginning, Senator Troutwine, to make it match the rest of them if it is a favorable amendment.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Yeah.
Senator Brown, is this a favorable amendment?
I feel like if you add this, then you also have to include how some police officers were also helping some of the constituents who were attacking the riot. So I feel like if we were going to add this, then we would also need to add an amendment on that. And if we weren't willing to add an amendment on that, I wouldn't look favorably upon it.
Senator Troutwine, is that a favorable amendment to your amendment?
The way in which I'm writing this isn't to say that there weren't outside, that there were in fact law enforcement officers from other districts and other areas who did enter the Capitol and participated in the siege and the riots. But that is not what I'm talking about here. What I'm trying to talk about more is that I feel like through this, we're not fully giving the due to these officers who, some of whom laid down their lives to defend the Capitol and try to ensure that we didn't see Confederate flags in the Capitol building. They tried to ensure that these people were orderly, that they were outside of the Capitol, and that the process of government was occurring as it should. And without including this, I feel like it just doesn't give its due. And as to the other point of trying to add in additional language, I think it almost comes across as doublespeak, if I'm being honest. The police who acted with the rioters are rioters. They are not police. They've been removed from their positions. If they had positions, they've been removed from them. And what I'm just trying to say here is that these officers, who we know to be good, were literally giving their lives and were at risk of giving their lives in the attack, and were defending the democratic process. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Trotwine. Seeing that is not favorable, we will be voting on the addition of Senator Trotwine's initial amendment to this bill. If Chris could send out another poll, please. Seeing all 17 senators have voted, this will be added to the bill. Any further points or motions at this time?
If there's no other conversation, I move to previous question, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Director Hobie, will all those in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? We will now go into voting procedure on Senate Resolution 2021-15. Please vote at this time. It appears that all 17 voting members have voted. Senate Resolution 2021-15 is passed by 15 to 0 to 2. Do we have any further points or motions at this time?
I move to bring Senate Resolution 2021-16 to the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Director Moyer.
Second that.
Hearing a second. All those in favor of bringing Senate Resolution 2021-16 to the floor, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed. We will go to this resolution. Senator Brown, you have the floor.
So, as some of you know, obviously, if you follow UD's main account, their new computer science building is being named after Jessie S. Hathcock, who was the first Black woman to graduate from the University of Dayton, not only with her bachelor's, but she was also the first Black woman to earn an honorary doctorate from the University of Dayton as well. So Jessie S. Hathcock has a lot of great things on her resume. So not only did she graduate from the University of Dayton, she also chartered the first Black sorority here right in Dayton. She is a notable educator to Dayton Public Schools through Dunbar High School. And her husband also owned a small business, but I didn't include all of that. I really just wanted to recognize that we are having a building being named after this is the first building on the University of Dayton's campus to be named after an African American woman. And not only recognizing her, but also recognizing other Black women on campus who are also paving the way for a lot of activism, because unfortunately, Black women on campus do suffer a lot of racism and sexism from fellow classmates. That kind of goes back to kind of some of the stuff that we were talking about earlier in the year. A lot of the women who came to the public comment sections were Black women, and a lot of them are very invested on SGA's behalf. And so without the work that Black women do on campus, we would not be the campus that we are today. And so I wrote this resolution to address not only Jessie S. Hathcock, but just Black women on campus, period, for really doing the most and really contributing to the community and the betterment of the University of Dayton. So I just wrote that down, and yeah, I can take any questions.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Do we have any points or motions?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and comment. I just wanted to thank Jada for putting this together. This is really a first and one of a kind for SGA to recognize, especially it's a first for all of campus. So just thank you, Jada, for writing this and bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Any further points or motions?
Mr. Speaker, I move for a previous question.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Hearing a second from Director Cox. All those in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed. We will now be moving the previous question. Please go and vote on the poll. By a vote of 17 to 0, Senate Resolution 2021-16 has passed unanimously. Thank you. Do we have any further points or motions?
Mr. Speaker, I move to bring Senate Resolution 2021-17 to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing a second from Senator Garvin. All those in favor of bringing Senate Resolution 2021-17 to the floor, please raise your hands at this time. All opposed? Seeing a vast majority in favor, we will go to Senate Resolution 2021-17. Senator Brown, you have the floor.
All right, so something that I've never seen from SGA before, I've never seen SGA acknowledge or recognize Black History Month. And so with some of the conversations that we've had since the beginning of the year, I thought it was very important for us as an organization to really recognize the importance of Black history and how much Black students have really contributed to campus, even in times where we weren't necessarily always welcomed by the administration. So this resolution, sorry, let me open it up on my own personal tab. So it basically just kind of reaffirms some of the stuff that we've been talking about in our anti-racism work group. I also put that we failed to recognize Black History Month. I think it's important to note that since the university does do that as well. I see somebody highlighting the history department. So I'll go ahead and explain that. So some of you who know me, I'm a member of Black Action Through Unity. I'm on the e-board. And so one of the things that we've always talked about is that in History 103, there's never really an acknowledgement of Black history. I was trying to kind of figure a way to word that correctly, but basically when you're in History 103, I mean, my History 103 class, the only time I learned about Black people was when they were slaves. And I feel like that's a lot of the education that we not only receive in high school, but that we also receive through higher education. I mean, Black Action Through Unity created a whole Black history timeline that can be used for the acknowledgements of what Black students have done on campus. And Black people have contributed a lot to not only the nation, but America. That's not slavery and civil rights. So I just thought that was something that maybe we could advocate for, since that is something that Black students are advocating for. And since we're working towards advocating for all students better. So I saw somebody recognize that. And then also the resolved, consider extra funding for Black organizations on campus. Somebody highlighted that, so I'm gonna go ahead and address that now. Black organizations have been helping Black students on campus more consistently than not only SGA, but a lot of other organizations and offices on campus. So the best way that I believe that we can support Black organizations and Black students is by simply giving them more funding to be able to continue doing the great programming that they do that supports Black students in the most intimate way. And so I didn't want to put that set in stone because finances, duh, we're in a panoramic, duh. But I thought it was important to at least consider that clause, because I do think that if we fund them, that would be very beneficial. So yeah, I rest my time. I'll take any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. I just wanted to say first, Jada, that what you've been doing is amazing. You know, you've obviously spent a lot of time putting these together. My only question was, I saw a line, whereas the University of Dayton Student Government Association acknowledges or recognizes that they failed to recognize the power of Black History Month in the past. Well, I feel like me as a freshman, I'm not even too familiar with what they did in the past in general. Has there been any positive you could put in there as well? Like, because I feel like I'm voting on something that I don't even know too much about. Maybe it could just be a line where you just recognize that maybe some action has been taken in the past. I don't know, but I just figured it was important to bring in the freshman perspective, because I can't say that I fully agree with recognizing that they failed to recognize the power of Black History Month. I just thought that was worth bringing up, but.
Oh,
Senator Brown.
My name is Jada, not Jada, by the way.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I have another comment. Oh, my bad, Jada, go ahead.
I'll explain kind of why I put that. So I think something that a lot of Black students who go here, that specifically was brought up really during public comments and concerns, is just the acknowledgement of SGA and their inability in the past to kind of address Black issues. And so since that's something that we've talked about in the past and that we've talked about in those public comment meetings and we've talked about in our anti-racism internal group, for me, that's kind of just reestablishing something that we've already kind of recognized, that in the past SGA has not either done at all or has not done a good job of addressing Black issues, or even whether those issues are good or bad. You know, we just passed something really good, really monumental. That's good. But in the past, we haven't addressed it at all. And so that's kind of why I put that there. If it would make it more specific, I would be willing to remove the power of and just say failed to recognize Black History Month, period. So it's not as general, but yeah.
Does that
Point of
address your
information.
concern, Senator?
Yes.
All right, Senator Reese.
From my memory, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I believe back in 17-18, we did do a tough talk in coordination with Black Action Through Unity about Black students' experience at UD and Black History Month. But I don't know if we want to add that as a sentence, or I just want to bring that to everyone's attention.
Point of information to Senator Reese's point of information. I did just go back and find on February 7th in 2019, University of Dayton SGA partnered with Batu and hosted a tough talk on Black History Month, which also celebrated Batu's 50th anniversary on campus and Batu Week. I did want to also throw that out there to make sure that was put as well. I yield my time.
Thank you. Any further points or motions?
Oh, go ahead, Luis.
Yeah, point of information. I think I like the resolution except for the 6th resolved. I think that point is very disrespectful to other organizations and bodies of students, because there's no way that you can say that what you're doing is more impactful than what I'm doing for my community. And same thing for Spectrum, same thing for religious organizations, same thing for the AAA. I think to say that you deserve more funding, I think that that's a slippery slope where now you're gonna have to consider to give extra funding to other organizations, because I believe the work that I'm doing for the Hispanic community is great and very impactful, but I would never compare it to your community or anyone else's community, because I think the impact that we have is equally as important. I don't think it's fair to say that you have more of an impact than I do. And just with that being said, I like the document, but the 6th point is, I completely disagree with it.
Point of information. That's definitely not anything to other organizations at all. That is not comparing anything to what is done in the Latinx, Hispanic community or Spectrum or any other organizations. I just believe that since it's a Black History bill, I would really like to just recognize Black organizations. There can be other legislation made for other groups. I think anybody who does that work is really considerate of extra funding. I just feel like a lot of times when we talk about Black organizations and some of the work that they do on campus, they often get compared to a lot of other people. And I just think that it's okay to consider just one party. And that's why I kind of put that in there, but.
Point of information, I have 2 here. Luis, were you wanting to make an amendment? I didn't know if you just were bringing that point to attention, if you wanted to make an amendment to strike that from the bill. I was just gonna let you, I know you're new to SGA, so I just wanted to give you the floor if that's what you were wanting to do like we did earlier.
I think right now I'm just considering what Jada just said and stuff like that. I like to like self-reflect a lot and stuff. So I don't have like an immediate response. I just know that, or like the thought of like when she presented it, I just knew like I had to speak up, but I don't necessarily have a specific thing to say. But I am thinking about like potentially like striking or like, yeah, or like eliminating that point, but I don't have any types of motion or like actual amendments right now.
I
Sure.
think I would.
Mr. Oh,
sorry.
Still have the floor, sorry. Mr. Speaker, I also will move to suspend the rules so that the Vice President of Finance is able to speak upon how we as chair of the Finance Committee and Vice President of Finance go forward with our funding groups and organizations, especially since it's funding week right now. So again, I would move to suspend the rules to let Vice President Fields have the floor for just a moment.
Senator Moyer, that is not a favorable motion for the reason that the Vice President of Finance is already able to talk on bills that would relate to finance. And as this is, he can speak. And also, since it's bylaw changes, Attorney General Gordon also, and the speaker would like to call on first VP Fields and then AG Gordon to discuss this real quick.
Thank you. So as VP of Finance, I do see an issue with line number 6 because the goal of the Vice President of Finance is to fund all organizations as equitable as possible. So if one organization is receiving special funds over another organization, I do see that as a problem. And kind of like Luis was saying, this is a slippery slope. So if one organization receives additional funding, then another organization is going to ask for additional funding as well. And that's going to impact the budget. So I will also be against line number 6.
I pretty much was going to say the same thing. We can't really do that according to bylaws or constitution. It's not really allowed to happen. It would be sort of a form of favoritism towards certain organizations. So we can't fund them in that manner.
I tend to agree.
Here, any points or motions?
I would.
Yeah, motion to amend. Point.
Yeah.
Motion to amend by Senator Reese.
Striking line 6, and I'll just say that I would echo what Michael Fields said and what Luis said and stated very nicely. We give out money based on need, and we always tend to have an excess of money or we can move our budget around to find money. So if those organizations feel as though they aren't receiving enough, they can always come ask us, and we can find some more for them.
Thank you, Senator Reese. Is this a favorable amendment, Senator Brown?
No.
Seeing as though this is a hostile amendment, Chris, will you please send a poll?
What resolution are we on? 17?
Resolution 2021-17. Chris, yield my time.
So the amendment is to get rid of line 6?
Yes, Director. Sorry, by majority vote, this amendment has been adopted. Striking line 6 from Senate Resolution 2021-15. Any further points or motions at this time?
Point of information, Speaker Jagels, it's Senate Resolution 2021-17.
Thank you, Senator Moyer, for the correction. Much appreciated. Any further points or motions? Senator Cartelman?
I kind of have an issue with the pretty harshly worded clause sort of condemning the history department. And I think that it needs to be more specific if we're going to just say, you know, like, because I think sort of the gist of what I got from what you said about that, Jada, was that a lot of the Black history curriculum is centered around slavery and sort of portraying Black history through a lens of negativity and not enough of celebrating positive events and people in Black history is kind of what I understood from what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that if we're going to say that about the history department, I think the second clause is fine. But the first clause, I think we need to sort of specify that you're worried, firstly, about the History 103 curriculum, and that it's not just that they're not including curriculum about Black history, because they are. It's just that it isn't the right kind of stuff, I think, that you're wanting in the curriculum. Am I wrong?
I mean, I don't really understand how it's harsh, but a lot of Black students, I don't know what you learned in your History 103 class, but like I really didn't learn any Black history. And so what it's really saying, I think really resonates with another point where it says Black history is American history. That's kind of like the continuation, you know, so saying that like we're addressing that, okay, there's a lack of Black history in History 103. That's kind of what that point is addressing directly. There's a lack of Black history, okay? The history is very whitewashed. So then the next line is supposed to be a continuation. So since we have a problem with how with the history department and its lack of including Black history into the regular curriculum. By regular curriculum, I really mean History 103, because obviously we do have Black history classes where if you want to learn that stuff, you can. But the point is that everybody should know Black history, not just people who want to take it as elective. So that's kind of what that point is addressing, lack of Black history. You know, I think personally, even if you're learning about the stuff that happened to Black people, sorry, I was trying to think of a good way to word that. What Black people have went through and address the negatives, even I think that's better than not addressing it at all, if that makes any sense. I would change the wording, but I still think that's an important point to make, that there is a lack of Black history, because therefore that's why we want to change it.
I think it's interesting to
Senator Karchelman.
I'm sorry.
Please, we need to maintain order, so wait for her to be totally finished talking before you go ahead, and that goes for all senators. And if everyone could yield their time when they're finished speaking, and then point of information if you would like to ask a question, to allow for civility and order on the floor. Thank you all very much.
Point of
I'm
information.
sorry, I yield my time.
Thank you. Senator Brown.
Point of information. So when she's done talking and I'm wanting to respond, do I have to say point of information, or do I just start talking?
Yes, you do, Senator Karchelman. It's necessary to do so each and every time. It can appear to be a pain, but it is necessary for maintaining order, particularly in Zoom. Thank you.
Of course. All right. So then point of information, Jada, I think I personally would want some more solid evidence that the history curriculum is actually not including enough Black history. Because for me personally, this semester, my entire history curriculum, the whole semester is pretty much focused around a book on Reconstruction and a long-term essay about Black history. So, you know, I think I just would like to see something more concrete as far as how they actually are not including it. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Karchelman. We have Senator Trotwine raised his hand. So.
Yes, point of information. Is it possible we could maybe have someone from the history department, maybe like the chair of the history department, come and maybe speak as to what sorts of things could be done to sort of like address this, and also just to allow them to sort of express their side of this too? Because I mean, I see how it can come across as a little bit antagonistic in a way towards the history department. I think it could be perceived that way, and I just think that we maybe should say instead, like, whereas UDSGA calls on the chair of the history department or the history department in general to sort of provide some additional information as to this. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Trotwine. In recognition of that question, seeing as those who could or are in charge of inviting people to Senate floor, I, as Speaker, would recommend that we suspend the rules and talk to the Madam President or Chris Fishpaw.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules. Sorry, I'm eating a Tums. I have antacid. I move to suspend the rules for outside Senate floor members to be able to speak.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second?
I object.
Senator Reese, what is your objection?
That can be planned at a later date. Then I have a point of information. I have my time.
Thank you. Hearing Senator Reese's objection, we will not be doing this at this time. If anyone has any further points or motions.
Just another point of information.
Senator Reese.
So typically in the past, we've done a good job as SGA of if we're going to call someone out in a bill or resolution, we reach out to them first. Since all of our legislation is public, we want to make sure that we are respectful and have that relationship established before we just throw someone's name in a bill or resolution.
I have a motion. I move.
Senator Carchelman, go ahead.
Okay, I move to strike the two clauses that are calling out the history department.
That is to strike the whereas clauses that are currently highlighted. Is this a favorable amendment, Senator Brown?
No.
Seeing as this is a hostile amendment, Chris, would you mind please sending a poll? Seeing all 17 voting members, this amendment is adopted. Those whereas clauses have been struck from the bill. Any further points or motions at this time?
Move to the previous question.
I object.
Senator Reese, go ahead. What's your objection?
Strike the whereas clause. Whereas the University of Dayton Student Government Association recognizes that they have failed to recognize the power of Black History Month in the past, but works to acknowledge the importance now and the future years to come. We have multiple events in the past. We might not have had a resolution. So we can either clarify that or strike that completely.
Is that a motion to strike?
Sorry, that's a motion to strike, correct.
All right, thank you, Senator Reese. Is that a favorable amendment, Senator Brown?
No.
Seeing as that is a hostile amendment, Chris, would you mind sending another form for the poll? This is to strike the highlighted whereas clause.
Point of information, if we abstain, does that mean that we could come up with new wording in the future, or?
Abstention is just what that is. It's abstaining. How you vote on this subsidiary motion would not affect something moving forward. Someone could propose to put this exact same language in immediately afterwards if the votes were present. Senate, this amendment, the third amendment, which is to strike that whereas clause, has passed. Any further points or motions at this time?
Yes. I move to amend.
Thank you, Senator Trautwein. What is your motion to amend?
I would really like to include language about SGA reaching out and trying to actually hear from the history department as to this question. I think that it is important for us to get some information and for us to fully see what, if anything, the history department is doing. So my clause would be whereas. Should I type?
Yes, please, Senator.
Point of information.
Senator Carr-Chelman, go ahead.
So would this be more of an operative clause instead of a preambulatory clause? I'm not sure what it's called in these documents, but I sort of see that there's a section of recognizing the issue and then addressing the issue. And I'm wondering if.
Yeah, sorry, I will move that.
Yeah, no, it's right.
Senator Trautwein, that's out of order. But you're welcome to make your change to your amend if you do it properly, Senator.
I move to add an additional resolved amendment within the resolved section of the bill.
Thank you, Senator Trautwein.
I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Trautwein. Is the highlighted part? So this is resolve number 6. Senator Brown, is this a favorable amendment?
Sure.
Seeing as this is a favorable amendment, it has been added to the bill, not needing a vote of the Senate. Any further points or motions at this time?
Move to the previous question.
Thank you, Senator Trautwein. We've got a motion to the previous question. Do we have any seconds? Seeing a second, we will, all those in favor of moving to the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? We will move into voting for the previous question. By a vote of 17 to 1 to 2, Senate Resolution 2021-17 has passed. Any further points or motions?
I move to introduce Senate Resolution 2021-18.
Thank you, Senator Carr-Chelman. Do we have a second? Seeing a second, all those in favor of bringing up Senate Resolution 2021-18 to the floor, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? Seeing majority in favor, we will go to this Senate resolution. Senator Brown, you have the floor.
I don't have anything to say, so if you have questions, I yield my time.
Thank you. Any points or motions at this time?
Point of information as
Senator
to
Trotwine.
Point of information as to the last whereas clause. My only question is the way that it's worded almost sounds as though it does not condemn that. I would change the language there. I would move to amend to change the language to say, oh, never mind. I read it wrong. Sorry. It doesn't explicitly say it that way. No, I agree. I
You
yield my
withdraw
time.
your motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Senator Trotwine. Any further points or motions at this time?
Mr. Speaker, I move to the previous question.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have a second? Seeing multiple seconds. All those in favor of moving the previous question, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? Seeing and hearing no objections, we will move into voting procedure on Senate Resolution 2021-18. By a vote of 12 to 1 to 4, Senate Resolution 2021-18 has passed. Any further points or motions?
Mr. Speaker, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Senator Moyer. Do we have any seconds?
I second that.
Hearing a second from Director Cox, all those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hands at this time. All those opposed? This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a nice rest of your Sunday.